Hi, everybody, and welcome. If you don't know me, let me take a minute to introduce myself. My name is Dr. Mary Claire Haver, and I am a board-certified OB-GYN physician. I am also certified. I'm a certified culinary medicine specialist by the American College of Culinary Medicine, which means I have an extensive background in nutrition. I am also a menopause certified practitioner by the Menopause Society at menopause.org. And I'm coming on today to talk to you about what I would tell my 35-year-old self. So I am 56 years old. You know, I actually couldn't remember how old I was. I couldn't remember if I was 56 or 57 the other day. Does anybody else do that? But I digress. So I am 56, and I, would do things very differently than 20 years ago. My entire outlook on aging, menopause, has changed almost completely since I have gone through menopause myself and devoted my life and my practice to the care and study of menopausal women. So before I get started, I want everybody to think about what you would go back in time for your health and give yourself advice at 35 years old. Now, this is coming from, yes, I'm much older than 35. My kids are grown now. I'm an empty nester. I'm also understand so much more than I was ever taught, ever trained to think about of how a woman traverses menopause and how she is going to age. So, menopause is not optional. Let me just make that clear. 100% of us are going to lose the function of our ovaries. So let's talk about really what menopause actually is. So human females are born with all of their egg supply. Men are very, very different. In the testicles, they make fresh sperm supply from puberty until death. It gets a little harder as they get older, but they can still do it. Okay, it's possible for in advanced ages for men can still father children, right? However, females, it's very, very different. We are born with a set amount of eggs, and the most eggs we ever have is when we're actually 5 months in utero. Okay, so your mother was 5 months pregnant with you. That is when you had the maximum amount of eggs. By the time you're born, through the process of atresia, which is a process that happens our entire lives until we run out of eggs. We have this atretic process where the less healthy eggs just start dying off. And we're not exactly sure why that happens, just that it does happen at a fairly steady rate until we get older, and then that accelerates. So from the moment the eggs form, we start losing them. So by the time we're born, we are down to about 1 to 2 million eggs. Then by the time we're 30, then let's go back to ovulate. Then we go through puberty and we start ovulating. Just in the process of ovulation, we have about 10,000 eggs that try to be the one that ovulates, and occasionally two, right? Because we have fraternal twins 2 to 3% of the time. We lose 10,000 eggs in that process to get one to ovulate. It's kind of survival of the fittest. The healthiest egg tends to survive. Okay, not always the case, but that tends to be what happens. We lose some of the less healthy eggs. So we're going through atresia, and then we start ovulating, and we're losing 10,000 eggs per cycle. So we started out with 1 to 2 million. By the time we're 30, females are down to an average of 10%, about 1.2 million eggs of our original egg supply. On average, some women have more, some women have less. Okay, we know things can speed up egg loss. What can do that? Smoking, chemotherapy, radiation, inflammatory bowel disorders, surgery in the abdomen, any surgery in the abdomen, especially hysterectomy, where we disrupt the blood flow to the ovaries. Remember, we have ovarian vessels coming from like the vena cava and the aorta that are sending blood back and forth to the ovary. We also have a significant blood supply coming through the fallopian tube from the uterus. And when we undergo hysterectomy, for good reasons, then we're going to lose some extra blood supply to the ovary, and that's going to leave you losing about 4 years off the shelf life of your ovaries, okay? Any tubular surgery, any pelvic surgery, we're going to speed that up. Trauma. There was an incredible study done looking at women who were sexually abused who then had children who were sexually abused, and they tended to lose 9 years off of, or 8 to 9 years off of the life of their ovaries. They went through menopause much, much sooner. Okay, so by the time we're 40, on average, we're down to 3% of our original egg supply. And menopause represents the end of our egg supply, okay? To me, when I was going through training, menopause was not framed as any kind of a condition that required much intervention in our training. Only if the patient came in complaining of severe hot flashes would we even discuss any kind of treatment. And we really, after the Women's Health Initiative, were so terrified by the misinformation that was generated and the hysteria that was generated by that study. It was try all these other things, and hormone therapy, giving her back the natural estrogen her body produced, was the absolute last thing in the list of things that we could do for the patient. Now, we now know, hopefully you all now know, that the majority of those findings have been walked back, that estrogen has not been found to cause breast cancer, estrogen only. The estrogen only arm actually saw a decreased risk of breast cancer in the Women's Health Initiative. The combination of estrogen and progestogen did not reach statistical significance, and it's a very, very nuanced conversation. What's left out of the conversation is that the protective benefits of estrogen. So if you go through menopause later rather than earlier, you have a lower all-cause mortality, a lower risk of cardiovascular disease, a lower risk of osteoporosis, a lower risk of diabetes, a lower risk of stroke, etc. Menopause, we now know, is not a health neutral event. It is not. Okay? And limiting treatment to the discussion of hot flashes is a terrible mistake. FDA has approved estrogen therapy for the prevention of osteoporosis, and you are more likely or just as likely to die from an osteoporotic fracture than you are from breast cancer. So these are all the things you need to take into consideration, and we have this very special window of opportunity for cardiovascular disease prevention. When started in the first 10 years of menopause, there seems to be a tremendous, like 40 to 50% per year decrease in the risk reduction of a primary heart attack in women if she starts hormone therapy in those first 10 years. So many personal assumptions I had about menopause, I've had to completely change. And I would love to see in the comments, what were your assumptions about menopause? So when I went through menopause, most of my perimenopause was masked or treated, because I was on hormone therapy to treat polycystic ovarian syndrome. So I didn't have a lot of symptoms of perimenopause because I was on continuous hormone therapy to treat my PCOS. Didn't really feel anything because my body was being given hormones, so I didn't notice the loss. Now, when I stopped that therapy to see where I was at, immediately I realized the symptoms started happening. I was having horrific hot flashes, completely disrupted, waking me up at night. My sleep was horribly disrupted, more than just the occasional bad night's sleep. This was night after night after night, multiple awakenings. Sheets were soaked, absolutely sweating. Because I wasn't sleeping, everything else in my life was, my resilience was down. I was having tremendous new onset of depression, anxiety, kind of this very labile, my resilience to the normal kind of stresses of life were down. I was increasingly unhappy with my job. I was not able to tolerate the level of stress that I used to, and my ability to function as a human and the life I had set up for myself was completely disabled. And it took me about 6 months to realize that this could be menopause. And so I got originally on hormone therapy, back on hormone therapy, on the menopause hormone doses to stop hot flashes. And they worked beautifully. The hot flashes stopped. I was sleeping much better. My resilience was creeping back in. But I also noticed my depression kind of went away. Could that have been done? Probably better sleep help with that. My weight gain stabilized. I wasn't losing weight, but the weight gain I was suffering from this new belly fat that I had stabilized. Okay. It, that up that I was experiencing had stopped. Okay. I was super happy about that. My joint pains got better. I was having a lot of pain in my lower back, like sitting in the chair at work, and I got a different chair. I tried something more ergodynamic. I was doing all these stretches, but I was just having this persistent hip and back pain throughout the day from seeing patients, but I'd never struggled with it before. Of course, I assumed I was injured. And then I got an HRT, and that kind of just got better all on its own. So the menopause experience is unique to each of us. As it turns out, we have estrogen receptors in just about every organ system of our body, from our brains, from every major organ, brains, kidneys, heart, lungs. In our gut, the gut microbiome changes. The research done by Zoe is incredible. A lot more research coming out here, but the gut microbiome completely changes through the menopause transition, not only in how we metabolize and process estrogen in the gut, but also in the quality and quantity of the gut microbiome. The gut microbiome of females then approaches that of a male's. We have a healthier gut microbiome typically than males do until we go through menopause. So my menopause fire went out, and I start telling the world about it, and everything explodes for me on social media, which was amazing. And then I start looking at the elders in my family, the female elders in my family, and the diseases that they suffer from. So the majority, when I look at my mom and my grandmother specifically, they've lived fairly long lives. They had a nice long lifespan, okay? But their health spans were not great. For both of these women, who I love, the last 10 years were spent in misery. Were spent dealing with chronic pain due to compression spinal fractures, due to osteoporotic fractures, and they also suffered from terrible dementia. My mother has Alzheimer's now, late onset Alzheimer's. She just got the blood work back. She has the tau protein. She is not ApoE. There's no gene here. Okay, so I have a fair good chance to outrun it if I do the right things now. So in my clinic, when I'm talking to patients in clinic, we put out the fires of her menopause, the things that are not allowing her to function on a day-to-day basis. We give her back that life through a combination of lifestyle changes, nutrition, exercise recommendations, pharmacology, etc. Okay, we get her functioning. Then we start talking about how are we going to age well? Let's talk about the elders in your family. Are they suffering from comorbidities that you don't want to suffer from? You don't want. And for me, it's not me being scared of suffering, okay? I've suffered my whole life. I was trained to suffer. I was taught, I was socialized that women suffer, okay? That's not okay. That doesn't scare me because I've suffered a lot without talking about it. What scares me is burdening my children. You cannot imagine the day-to-day discussions that are going on in my family and in my husband's family about the care of their parents who are aging and what comorbidities could we possibly decrease the risk of that are plaguing them right now. That is really what is motivating my patients. And it's not going to be a sauna, and it's not going to be an ice bath. It's not going to be those things. It is absolutely the basics. The basics. Eating whole foods. Exercising on a regular basis. Any and all exercise is good. Any and all exercise is better than being sedentary. Any form of resistance is good. Okay? Now, tweaking that, and it's all individualized. What works for you may not work for your sister, may not work for your neighbor, may not work for your cousin. But if you want to be really serious about not burdening your kids, it's time to take a look at the habits. Like what I would tell my 35-year-old self, I wish I would have changed my habits 20 years ago instead of at 50, so that I could further decrease the risk of becoming a long-term burden. I don't think I'm going to live forever. I don't want to live forever without my loved ones. I have no desire to do that. That is not me. I'd like to enjoy the health span my mother has, but I want a lifespan, but I want a better health span. I don't want to spend the last 10 years of my life depressed, isolated, alone, lonely, osteoporotic, and with dementia. And there are things that we can do there's no guarantees in life, but there are things we can do to limit that risk, to decrease so that your health span and your lifespan meet each other. This is possible. People do it. So what are the things I would tell Mary Claire at 35? Number one, enjoy your family, your beautiful babies, your amazing husband, this incredible career that you have been blessed with. But do not, Mary Claire, forget to prioritize your mental, your emotional, and your physical health. I put my job and being a mom on top of everything else and developed some pretty poor habits that would not, if I kept doing them, sustain me into my 70s and 80s. One of the inflection points about menopause that I'm seeing with my patients and on social media is that for the first time, women are prioritizing themselves. They're putting up boundaries. They're making changes for their benefit and no one else. I read a statistic today that shocked me beyond all belief. I was researching gender disparities in nursing home admissions and frailty scores. Okay, one of the biggest reasons why women end up in long-term care facilities, and they do that 3 times higher rates than men do. Okay, nursing home admissions for women are 3 times higher than men. Okay. Why? Because men, if they're divorced or living alone, have a much higher chance of being. However, if women are married, they have a higher chance. Women who live alone have less chance of being admitted to a nursing home. You know how they say that study, and it's true, that the happiest women, however they measure happiness, if you want to be happy and successful in life, be a single woman or a married man. And so it goes down the line for frailty scores and nursing home admissions. Women who are married or have a higher chance of being admitted to the nursing home, rather single women. So, but that does not hold for men. If men are single or widowed, they are much more likely. So that was kind of take a deep breath. I'm not getting a divorce to decrease my chance of going into a nursing home. I'm going to work on everything else. Okay. So 35-year-old Mary Claire, start journaling now. Start therapy now. Don't wait till 50. Don't wait till that inflection point of menopause when you don't have an option, that you have to go to therapy because you're not going to make it. You're going to destroy your relationship with your children. So do that now. Do that now. Enjoy those babies, your brothers, your job. You're going to change your job twice, Mary Claire, in the next 20 years. Your babies are going to grow up and move out. Okay. Your family, your brothers, you're going to lose 3 brothers, your dad, and your sister-in-law. They're going to die in the next 20 years. So that all happened to me. Had I known that, I would have lived my life very, very, very differently. Okay. Number 2 pillar, Mary Claire, of what I would tell you at 35. Stop trying to be skinny. Stop trying to be thin. Who are you trying to be thin for? No one cares. No one cares. Put on the bathing suit. Take your babies to the pool. No one cares. Your focus should not be thin anymore. It should be strong. Try to be a bigger body. Try to have a bigger body, a stronger body. Eat more, not less. Focus on protein and fiber now, not later. Okay? Those are the things that are going to help keep you strong and resilient and decrease your risk of diabetes as you age. Prioritize. Number 3 pillar, nutrition over calories. I counted calories like a boss. I had a running Rolodex in my head, calculator. This is so sad. At all times, I knew what my caloric intake was. How sad is that? I could not have told you how much protein I ate or how much fiber or vitamin C or magnesium or any of the nutrients. I didn't do any of that. My focus was to be thin, and I was good at it. And my mindset was thin is healthy. That's all I need to be is thin, therefore I'm healthy. And people who aren't thin, it's a moral failure. They're just not trying hard enough. My training in culinary medicine and nutrition has taught me all of the new science, how wrong that thinking is, how this is a multifactorial problem that is a biopsychosocial rooted in genetics and food availability, and the obesity epidemic is not a moral failure of an individual. It is not. And to stop judging people based on their weight. Huge thing I should have done at 35. Okay, I have my little list here, so if you see me looking over. Number 5, next pillar. Oh, number 4. Fourth thing. Mary Claire, educate yourself about menopause, because it's coming. It is going to hit you like a truck. You're not going to know what happened to you. It is going to rock your world in ways that you never imagined, good and bad. Here I am at 56. I am living my best life. I have a privilege, and we'll talk about that in a minute. That's my next of living. And I am happier. I am healthier on labs, on my body composition. I have better resilience. I'm calmer. I'm kinder. I have a better relationship with those precious, precious babies that God gifted me with to bring up into this world. I have a better relationship with my partner. I have a better relationship with my sister, my sister-in-law, my best friend from high school. You know, I'm successful in business in ways I never imagined. I have a following of millions and millions that I get to teach and share. It is such a gift. But had I ignored my menopause, continued with the same line of thinking, just cut calories, not focused on nutrition, not focused on getting stronger, not focused on my brain health, I would not be here today. And if I can do it, you can do it. I want the way I feel, the way I wake up every day, grateful. I want you all to feel that way. I want that for you. I want that for you. And I think you can. Hey, just Jenny. Jenny Hutt's my friend. Okay. All right, number 5. This one might make me cry. Consider aging a privilege. That will be denied to your sister-in-law, Amanda, who we lost in February, to my brother Jude, who we lost in 2021. My father died a beautiful death after a long life. So, you know, that was a good death. And we were ready. He was ready. That was precious. Jude, not fair. He was 57 years old. I will be 57 in a few months. My brother Bob, who died in 2015, at 56, the same age I am now. This privilege of living is going to be denied to so many people in your immediate family. And don't be afraid to take chances. Don't be afraid to walk away from a job that's not serving you, from insurance companies that are not serving the patients, to build a clinic of your dreams, to educate and teach people how to advocate for themselves. Very clear, you can do anything in this world. You are not stuck. I remember I cried more about my job because I felt stuck. What else could I do with all of this training and all of the years that I had put into this? What else can I do? I didn't have the courage to take the leap. And I'm just telling all of you, if you're 35, if you're younger, take the leap. Take the courage. You have a gift to give. You can teach. You can do all the things. And lastly, what would I tell 35-year-old Mary Claire? Focus on function and longevity. I have 30 years to plan to get old. Okay, I'm 56. I'll be 86, same age as my mom is. My mom's 87. She just turned 87. And I don't want to be in a nursing home with Alzheimer's, with aggressive dementia, aggressive, really mean dementia, and having just fallen and broken my hip from severe osteoporosis. I have a chance to beat that. But it starts now. It starts now. It started yesterday. It started 10 years ago. But every day I wake up and say, what can I do to not have that happen to me, because those are my genes and those are my elders, both my mother and my grandmother. And we have a chance and a choice, but it's sadly, the medical system was not designed to serve a woman much outside of reproduction. We have a huge gender health gap, meaning chronic diseases are chronically understudied in women. We don't age the same. We don't disease the same way. And that has to stop. So part of what I'm doing with this gift that you have given me with all of these followers and the businesses I've been able to create around it is advocacy, teaching you the questions to ask. We have resources, guides. Go check us out in the link in bio. We also have brand new coming out very soon, a Citizen's Guide to Menopause Advocacy, who to write to in the organizations that are in charge of women's health, what letters to write, what bills are in Congress, what Congress can do, what, who to reach out to in different levels, so that you as a regular citizen and not a lawmaker can put your vote in, can advocate for yourself on a legislative level, so we can make these changes from the top down. I can help you from the bottom up, with all of our resources and guides and questions and checklists and everything I've made for you. But we also need it from the top down. The organizations that are in charge of women's health have got to stop ignoring women's health outside of reproduction and treat it in a manner it deserves. So stay tuned for that. So I'm kind of practicing for a podcast. I'm in my closet, if you hadn't guessed. And here's my mic. And do you think I should do a podcast? I've kind of thinking about it. I will answer a couple of questions while we're here. And who is your dream guest to have on my podcast? I would love, love, love to see. So I will save this. It will be saved. Let's see. Menopause hormone therapy. There is no A. Yes. Okay. So yes, I should do a podcast. Who are the dream people? And then I'll go and answer your question. There's so many voices in this space, like the Corinne Menn and the Kelly Casperson and the Lauren Stryker and oh my gosh, there's so many, Roger Lobo, Wendy Mack, just so many incredible research-based voices who can just lend so much to this conversation. I want to elevate those voices and bring in success, women who are doing menopause well. They may not be like the Mel Robbins of the world and the Brene Browns, and that's my pie in the sky wish, is elevating other voices and having a place, a no BS. I can't be as totally real as I want to be and use potty mouth on Instagram. But on a podcast, I can kind of break loose. And so some of the most fun I've ever had was, Dr. Lyon, Gabrielle Lyon. Yes, she's already said she'd come on the podcast. So Menopause Barbie. I don't want to be a Barbie. Yeah, I have no makeup on. I'm like, let's see, HRT and statins, how to handle the combination. I really can't comment much on statins. The data around statins is pretty controversial, and they do lower a woman's cholesterol, but sadly, when you deaggregate the statin data looking at males versus females, males have benefit for the decrease in the risk of primary heart attack, but females do not in the top 4 studies that were done. So I'm not telling anyone to get off their statins. I'm saying we need more research. We need to deaggregate the data. Are statins the best way to lower cholesterol in women? Because the outcome we're looking for is stopping heart attacks. And, women have horrible heart attack data. We're 50% more likely to die from your first heart attack than a male. And so, the researchers who are in the cardiovascular space who focus on females are like, listen, women have heart attacks differently than men. Men will have like the Widowmaker, which is a block in the LAD. They have these very large single infarcts, like boom, one, single bypass, double bypass. Women have kind of diffuse microvascular disease in general. Of course, not all women, right? And not all men. But when you look at the symptoms a woman has when she has a heart attack, they're very different than a man. That's because different parts of the heart are being affected. And statins, though they do lower your cholesterol, women tend to have heart attacks not due to elevated cholesterol. I mean, it's just, we need to do female versus male based, looking at the data sets. And when you look at that, it's pretty astounding when you deaggregate the data, males versus females. So I'm not telling you to get off of your statin, but I'm telling you that starting hormone therapy between the ages of 50 to 59 has a better outcome for you as far as preventing your first heart attack than a statin does. And that data is absolutely clear and is inarguable. So, but everyone, because of the hysteria surrounding the Women's Health Initiative and the same megaphone that shouted the misinformation from the rooftops, is not being used to disseminate how that data has been walked back, how much of that has been retracted, how for the vast majority of women, hormone therapy in the form of estradiol and progesterone is safe, effective, and actually decreases her all-cause mortality and quality of life. So, okay, I'm looking at questions. Start a phone tree, but the 2025. Maria Shriver or Hoda would be great. Oh my God, you guys, that is like dreaming pie in the sky. But I think Maria might, I don't know. I've done a little bit of work with her on the periphery, and we'll see. It's still being recorded, yeah. Okay, I'll do a couple more questions, and I'm going to go make dinner. Tonight we are having salmon with tomatoes, white asparagus, and we meal prepped a giant pot of white beans and turkey. And that is one of the meal preps we typically do for the week, and we eat that as sides or with our lunches. We'll add a little extra protein to it, and it allows us to get our protein and our fiber goals. So who on the call is doing the 28-day challenge with us right now? I'm on day 7. I've already hit 8 plants. So we have 5 simple rules for the challenge. We have a protein goal, a fiber goal, a 30 plants per week goal, which is super fun, having to find 30 plants. We have a journaling goal for stress reduction, and we have an exercise goal. So, Avram Blooming and Carol, they're just amazing. Okay, everybody, thank you so much for joining me tonight, and stay tuned. Hopefully I'll have good news about a podcast potentially, and feel free to share this, and we will chat again soon.